Ways 1.
My name is Eugene Wright.
And I'm Doug Taylor.
And this is More Spiritual Than Lyrical, The Conversation.
I love it.
The last section that I want to discuss, right, in this conversation is we went through the spotlight, we went through the lowlights, like the things people don't see. I think the perfect place to end it, which I do in the book, and the purpose of the album is God's light, like having that bigger purpose in what it is that we do. I think for me, rap is my passion. That's what I love to do, right? But if I'm not telling authentic stories, I'm not being a voice of reason, I'm not being relatable, I'm not helping nobody grow, then I'm not doing God's work in my music. And that's something that I've not even recently, but just over the past few years, I would say, especially maybe the last 10 years, it's like this needs to have purpose and it needs to have meaning. And I think that's a driving factor of why I make music. It's no longer like, okay, it's a new year, I need to put an album out every year. It's like, nah, I put an album out when I have something of value to add to the world.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So for me, that's how I see, doing God's work within, my passion. But at the same time of that, like, when I talk about God's light, like, yes, that's God's light within what I do. I think for me, growing to become a better person puts me on the path of what I desire more than music, because music is one thing. But when I look at everything in totality and in this conversation, we talk about from origin to how we ended up here and to where we want to go. At some point, I know I want to turn the mic off. You know what I mean? And I always make music. I probably make music for the rest of my life. Yeah. But I don't care to be in the spotlight. I don't care to be on stage. I don't care to be on the road touring, doing shows. That's not necessarily what I care for. But I do want to have words of wisdom. I want to give insight. And I want to be the ultimate motivator. I want to be the patriarch of my family. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I don't also have that family yet. So I have the opportunity to grow and become my best self. This is just holding myself accountable and making the notes for it along the way and documenting it. You know what I mean? So that when I do have a family and I'm married and I'm, got kids and grandkids, and it's like, oh, he changed everything for the family. Like, from the origin stories of, Pie to Live West End, Winona, to, having structure, having, us having a better chance, us having the opportunity, but also having a safe space, knowing how to express yourself. Like, Uncle Gene, Daddy Gene, whatever they want to call me, Papa Gene, whatever I am in my family, I want to be the example of the guy that did it all and changed it all and made it possible, right? And I know I'm only going to get there by following God. That ain't something I can do by myself. You know what I mean? So I think that's how I define God's light in what I do outside of my passion. Like for you, is there anything or any similar notions that come to mind outside of like just pastoring and being on stage? I mean, I know that's the main purpose of it, but like how does it exist in forms outside of the title of being a pastor for you?
This is crazy. I make a statement. Some guys love pastoring. Some guys love being a pastor. Meaning, I love pastoring. I love the shepherding, the teaching, the impacting.
The action of.
The
ing.
I'm not in love with the title of a pastor. Some people love pastoring. Some people love being a pastor. On all my social media profiles, all stuff, well, they put one out there now, but I never go in rooms and introduce myself as a pastor.
Right.
Because that's just part of what I do. And I think the other thing, too, is I think it does a couple of things. First off, I don't tell people I'm a pastor because when I do, they get weird.
They tighten up.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, bro.
I got Jordans on.
So a lot of times, I won't even, what do you do? Well, run a couple of businesses. I do some, nonprofit work. Oh, really? Okay, yeah. And then they still regularly be like, pastor. Oh, yeah. Praise the Lord. Like, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that.
Yeah.
And so I don't always throw out that label pastor. I love the work of it, but I think what really comes into play with that is I don't at this point I'm again 52. I'm looking at what happens next. I can't define myself as a pastor.
Right.
This is something I get to do. What I'm called to do is teach people how to live. Pastoring is just one of the avenues that I teach people. And so one of the things that I think what hurts is when I was talking about introducing yourself as a pastor, it makes people weird, and then it puts you in this box, and some people automatically just won't even listen to you because they think you're going to be holy at 9, beat them with the Bible. And so I just think there's a great grace in just being free to be yourself, and it just comes out.
Right.
You know? And so I won't do this forever. And then I mirror what you said. I was meeting a therapist early on because I was like, something ain't right with me. And so, I was in my late 30s, and she helped me understand that I had developed a Superman complex, as you said, because it's crazy, bro. I told you my father was alcoholic. My brother had to defend us, protect us from my alcoholic father. His refuge was drugs, so he ended up becoming addicted to crack cocaine. So from age of like 12, I had no male figure with my last name. So I'm figuring out life from like 12 to 18. When my brother comes back and he's like trying to coach me, I'm like, bro, I already figured it out now. You know, you can't tell me how to do this. I already figured it out. Well, what happened is that because I had to figure it out on my own and I knew the struggle of it, I never wanted anybody else had that struggle. And it created this mentality that you got to get it for you and everybody else. And so it was exhausting, you know. And so I had to go through, like I said, therapy, to go through some self-help, go through some real reflections. Had a couple of health challenges that I came face to face with my mortality to realize I ain't gonna be here forever. And so in my early 40s, I really started making a commitment. I'm gonna give away everything I have and everything I know, because I'm not gonna be here forever. I'm not gonna pastor forever. I already know. All the stuff that like all of our businesses, they're named after they're named Aldar. My daughter's middle name is, my son's middle name is Alexander. My daughter's middle name is Darche. We took both their names and took Aldar and created all of our companies. So all of them, I created all of them not to keep them.
Right.
All of this was to give away. And so every part of my life is really like, bro, I'm preparing that when I'm gone, because I will be gone one day, the people I leave will be better.
Man, I appreciate you telling that story and putting that out there, because I think a lot of what you just said, that's sort of like the wisdom and counsel of having somebody older, because I just talked about like, oh no, I want to be the patriarch that changes everything.
Yeah.
That's still my Superman complex showing up in a certain degree, but also knowing like doing it to the purpose of not to have the credit, but allow me to be mindful to do it with the purpose of not just for the sake of having the credit,
right,
or the quote unquote legacy that people talk about all the time, but for the purpose of what it's actually for, family improvement, to give away, to, you know, for it to be the tool that it's needed to be.
Absolutely.
Like
it's redefining success.
It is. And I man, it's funny, like this is gonna sound like a random beeline topic, but I promise I'm gonna tie it into it, right? This old man had told me one time, like, you know, God do anything for you, but one thing he ain't gonna do, he ain't gonna make no more land. So
all day.
He was finished with that
all day
in the first week. So
yeah,
that's what got me. He was done. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was like that got me. That's what triggered me to get, you know, into things like real estate. You know what I mean? And try to, you know, make sure I at least own the property, and, you know, trying to get into tax properties, you know what I'm saying? But I'm starting with zero knowledge of it. I'm just really winging it, trying to get into it and get it going. But then as I'm researching it, you know, I'm wondering about it, you know, looking at the properties my family's, you know, the families close to me have. And I do the research, and I'm talking to my dad, and he tell me this story of how basically my great grandparents owned a lot of houses over in the Powderly and West End area. Somewhere between the lines of like my great grandparents, and it's the side of the family that my dad married into, so it wasn't necessarily his fault. Yeah. But somewhere along the lines of like my great grandparents down to my aunts and uncles, like I'm talking about maybe like 30 to 40 houses.
Oh, wow.
Just got rid of them all. Nobody wanted to maintain them or run the family business. So my great grandma either gave some of them away to like people that were, had been living in them forever, or she sold some of them. And it was like, now here I am trying to rebuild a family business, start from square one. Yeah, I could have just kept this for us. But also that's same notion of earlier, that's two sides to that coin. One, it could be the same notion we mentioned earlier, hard times create great men create good times create weak men create hard times, and the cycle starting over. All of it. It could be that, or it could be, that was probably my great grandparents doing God's work, because they weren't a real estate company. They weren't like real estate investors. They didn't, they weren't Keller Williams or nothing like that. They were just like, back in their times when the community was more FUBU. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just owned the houses and they rented them out to people. And you know what? Yeah, I've been renting this for so long. Take it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a blessing to another family. I can't be mad at that too. Sure. But also I can feel some type of way that we established, like, that could have changed the family dynamics for everybody to change some of the conditions that I grew up in. Sure. You know what I'm saying? 1,000%. So it's 1,000%. Like, so when you talk about passing down businesses and stuff like that, it's like, okay, I think now that we have more information in the modern day, which I can't blame nobody in my family for that, but like, now that we have more information in the modern day, it's like, I can see the play clearer. Somebody still got to run the play, and it might as well be me. And if I can't save everybody, I can at least build a system to support everybody. Absolutely. And I think that's a part of doing, the work, because it ain't just for me getting the glory from it. It's like, maybe I'm blessed with the insight to see it differently. Like you said, family of buyers, you know what I'm saying? Like, buyers, sellers, builders. Like, maybe buyers and builders. That was the analogy you gave me to move forward with. Maybe I'm the builder now in my family. So it's like, oh, now I have to build. But that building takes place more than just outside of music. This is being built with purpose, but that purpose is an insight that I have by being guided by the right forces, whether that's my close friends, whether that's mentorship, whether that's, getting my purpose pie together, God, all of that. You know what I mean? Like, this is a path that I no longer can turn from or ignore. Sure. Because if it was meant for somebody else in my family, they probably would have been on the path. That's good. So it's like now I have to actively do the work. You know what Absolutely. I mean? So,
and it's all about, creating opportunities. Right. Because my son and my daughter, they may never want one of those businesses. They may want to do, which that's their choice. But at least, as your grandparents, I want to give you the opportunity that if you want to go into real estate, you got a portfolio. If you choose not to, fine. But at least I've given you options. Bro, this is a truth. And some people might not like it, but here's what it is. I told you my son was, when he was in Orlando, he took a job, and they gaslighted him. They told me he was gonna make X amount of dollars, and I was like, bro, that money's not gonna stretch in Orlando. But then when he got there, they changed his pay scale. They put him on full commission, which I love commission, but he doesn't do sales. Right. So, and the way they structured it, which I think is dang near legal, that whatever you're short of your base salary on day 365, you get a check for that. So we may promise you $75,000. You may make $25,000 for 364 days. Day 365, I write you a $50,000 check. Well, you're homeless by then. Yeah. So he called me and he was telling me, his plight, and he'd done it. So he was doing DoorDash, doing Uber, he was doing part-time job. He was doing everything he could to try to make it work. He was like, I just can't do it. And had a hard conversation. I was like, no, I started getting concerned about my son for real mental health. I'm like, he tough. That's tough. And I told him, I said, how soon before you can get your apartment packed up? He said, I can have it packed up by Sunday. I said, call U-Haul, tell him to be there Monday morning. Nah. He got, U-Haul was there Monday morning. He drove from Orlando to Birmingham. He made a stop. He came in Wednesday. He had a job working for me on Thursday.
All right. See?
Now, will he stay? I don't know. Now, I hired him because he's good, not because he's my son. That's a whole nother joint right there.
That's
a whole nother joint because I'm not going to be a poor steward. I had to learn. This is what I learned from the Bible, and I know we got to come to a close, but this is dope. The Bible talks, when I talk about the practicality of the Bible talks about the wise virgins and the foolish virgins. The five wise virgins, they had their oil ready for the bridegroom to come, and they could go in and they can celebrate. The 5 foolish virgins did not pack any oil. When the bridegroom came, the 5 foolish said, let us borrow some of your oil so we can come in. And they said, we're not going to give you any. We prepare for this. We're ready for the season. While you was out there kicking it, you should have been getting oil. And they closed the door and they never got in. I learned then, I'm not obligated to give you out of sympathy what I gained through sacrifice.
Ooh, that's a bar.
I'm not obligated to give you out of sympathy what I gained through sacrifice. So I'm not going to give you a business just because you're my son. I grinded to get this. This was when I was on that treadmill. Right. So because you got the goods, I'll hire you. But I'm not going to give this to you just because you're my son. If you my son, I'll move you back and give you somewhere to live until you find a job. But I'm not going to give you you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm separating being your father and being a funnel for you to go further. As a dad, you can always come back for a little while. But I'm not going to hire you just because you're my son. You got to have the goods. And that's just it. I'm not obligated to give you out of sympathy what I gained out of sacrifice. That's why I tell folks, bro, what's hard for here's a low light. What's hard for me is I am very familiar with struggle. Most times when people come to me and talk about their struggles, I have to fight saying it to myself, that ain't no struggle. That's a low light. And I really had to work on that because I understand everybody has their own level, their own capacity. And so what may be light for me is heavy for them.
Right.
I give them that. For the most part, I'm telling folks, that ain't heavy. You just weak. And I have to fight that because my wife and I, we went 3 years and then going into vacation. We were making, this was like mid 90s. We was making 6 figures in the 90s, bro. And everything I bought came out the thrift store. Now we was making all this money. We had new cars. We had plenty of clothes. I mean, we was what people consider success. My credit was bad. All my money was going. I was bouncing checks, and I'm like, this ain't living. We started for 3 years. We ate lunch together at work every day. She made beef tips and rice, not because she liked them, but because they was cheap. Everything I bought came out the thrift store. I traded in my 1998 Honda Passport that I bought off the showroom floor.
For y'all that's keeping up, it was 1998.
You understand?
And he had the 1998.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I drove a 1972 Buick Centurion with no air conditioner, 8-track player. My wife had a 1996 Nissan Maxima with the gold kit. I turned it back in. She drove I found a 1991 Oldsmobile with 1 mirror. And that's what we drove. That's how we lived for like 3 years.
But see, and here's the beauty of it, right? Because we mentioned the practicality earlier of how you teach, and I probably gonna catch some flack too because I was talking about people just wanting private lessons right after you got out the sermon. But you just did it then. Like even when we talking about guys like, right, you taught the lesson of the oil in a practical manner, and related it to your son and how it works on a day-to-day basis, right? So I can see guys like showing up in even how you teach, your own family that you're giving me an example of, and even like having the surplus, like, which I think when you think about like how you said you started living in the 90s in order to grow and be successful in a different way rather than just obtaining things, right? Like I feel like that's the same boat that I'm facing in a different form in a newer generation, right? Yeah. Like I talked about being successful in corporate America, but I also like recently let that gig go because I didn't want to be a slave to money. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was like, nah, my purpose is here. I want to start my family here. I love being in the city. And, I'm making 6 figures too. And it's just like, you know what? But is it like, is this my ruler? You know what I mean?
Good.
But my work is here. My purpose is here. The people I reach are here. The students are here. The family is here. I want to start my family here. I love the city. As chaotic as it is, this is home in me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm choosing the purpose of what I want to see and fulfill over the sake of money. Absolutely. Which I probably would have to put the rap down and all of that stuff too in order to get reestablished somewhere else. But like, I think that's me trying to follow God's light. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Instead of being paid to go against what I feel like I should stand on.
Absolutely.
And I think even how you mentioned that with your kid, that's an example of God's light outside of pastoring. That's like raising a family. That's the moral compass. That's applying it in practicality and in principle.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
If you haven't heard, the Sit Down Sessions is a one-of-a-kind experience started right here in Birmingham. Come out to hear some of the best talents in the city as we provide you with lyrics and highlighters to choose your favorite lines and ask the creators themselves what it all means. We have a dope lineup with sounds by The Phasing Octopus, G.I. Magus as the host, along with special guests Specs the Great and Seven Rich. Can't forget about myself. My name is Eugene Wright, and we'll not only be celebrating my birthday, but the release of my new album and book, More Spiritual Than Lyrical. Advance tickets are $20 and includes lyrics, seating, and the Sankofa Suite gear bundle. For those that want to level up their experience, the Plus Pack gets an included copy of the new book and CD. The Max Pack gets you an additional book for the Ubis Cube and official art poster, while the Ultra Pack gets everything mentioned, plus a t-shirt, hat, and the album on vinyl. We may have to ship that to you. So get your tickets now and pull up to the Greenhouse at 602 19th Street, Ansley on Friday, September 5th. Can't wait to see you at the Sit Down Sessions for More Spiritual Than Lyrical, brought to you by The Flourish and Sankofa Suite, a creative culture company.